Your bank account is growing. So is your anxiety. What if wealth isn't the problem? Your nervous system is. Most millionaires feel broke inside. You might be next. 3 questions expose everything. Do you sleep well? Feel safe? Enjoy money? This book reverses the equation. Peace first, profit second. Why do lottery winners and CEOs share the same cortisol levels? What if one internal shift creates more security than any investment? Can you become anti-fragile wealthy, where chaos strengthens you? Stakes are simple. Another decade of grinding kills the life money was supposed to buy. The promise is this: build wealth that calms you, not consumes you. Let me tell you about a moment that changed how I understood money forever. I was sitting in a coffee shop in Manhattan watching a man in an expensive suit check his phone every 30 seconds. His leg bounced under the table. His jaw clenched. His eyes darted between the screen and the door like he was waiting for bad news to arrive in physical form. I recognized that look because I'd worn it myself for years. This wasn't a man counting his blessings. This was a man held hostage by his own success. His wealth had turned him into a prisoner, and the cell was made of numbers that never felt like enough. You've probably felt this too. That strange emptiness that arrives the day after a big win. The promotion, the bonus, the investment that finally paid off. You thought it would feel different. You thought crossing that threshold would bring relief, maybe even joy. Instead, you got a brief spike of dopamine followed by a familiar dread. Now you have more to protect. More to lose. More to worry about. The finish line you were chasing just moved another mile down the road, and you're already exhausted. This is what I call the cortisol economy. We're living in a system where financial growth triggers the same biological response as physical danger. Your amygdala, that ancient alarm system in your brain, can't tell the difference between a market downturn and a predator in the bushes. Both activate your sympathetic nervous system. Both flood your body with stress hormones. Both make you feel like survival is at stake. And here's the cruel irony. The more successful you become, the more your brain interprets your wealth as a threat. More money means more complexity, more decisions, more ways to fail, more scrutiny, more responsibility. Your nervous system wasn't designed for this. It was designed to keep you alive in a world of immediate physical threats, not abstract financial ones. So you end up in this exhausting paradox. You work harder to earn more, believing that the next level of wealth will finally bring security, but each level just raises your baseline anxiety. You're running faster on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. The destination you're chasing is peace, but the journey is destroying any capacity you have to feel it. This isn't a character flaw. This isn't weak mindset or lack of discipline. This is biology meeting an economic system that profits from your perpetual dissatisfaction. Think about the last time you checked your bank balance or investment portfolio. What happened in your body? Did your shoulders tighten? Did your breath get shallow? Did you feel a small surge of adrenaline, even if the numbers were good? That's your nervous system treating financial information as survival data. And if you're checking those numbers multiple times a day, you're essentially giving yourself repeated doses of stress hormones, training your body to associate wealth with danger. Over months and years, this creates a profound internal contradiction. You're building external security while simultaneously destroying internal peace. The research on this is clear and deeply unsettling. Studies of lottery winners show that most return to their baseline happiness levels within 2 years, and many report increased anxiety and depression. Ultra-high net worth individuals, people with tens of millions of dollars, report the same rates of clinical anxiety as people living paycheck to paycheck. Billionaires lie awake at night worrying about wealth preservation. Retirees with massive nest eggs still feel terrified of running out. The amount doesn't matter. The relationship to the amount is everything. I want to introduce you to what I call the peaceful wealth audit. This isn't about your net worth or your investment strategy. This is about your money nervous system, the invisible infrastructure that determines whether wealth calms you or consumes you. There are 6 primary stress triggers that most people never examine. They run in the background like malware, draining your capacity for peace without you even noticing. The first trigger is income volatility. Even if you earn plenty, if your income fluctuates unpredictably, your nervous system stays in perpetual alert mode. The entrepreneur making $300,000 a year, but never knowing which months will be good lives with more baseline stress than the teacher making $60,000 with absolute consistency. Your brain craves predictability more than it craves abundance. The second trigger is spending guilt. This is the voice that says you don't deserve to enjoy your money. Every purchase becomes a referendum on your worthiness. You eat at nice restaurants but can't taste the food because you're calculating whether you should have cooked at home. You take vacations but spend them feeling guilty about the expense. Your wealth becomes a source of shame instead of resource. This trigger often has deep roots in childhood messages about money and worth. The third trigger is comparison poisoning. You make more than 90% of people in your country, but you spend your time looking at the 10% above you. Social media gives you an endless feed of people with more, doing more, being more. Your nervous system interprets this as falling behind, even when you're objectively thriving. The hedonic treadmill speeds up every time you scroll. The fourth trigger is investment anxiety. You've been told your money should work for you, so you've built portfolios and strategies. But now you're working for your portfolio, monitoring it constantly, feeling every fluctuation like a personal failure or victory. The market's volatility becomes your emotional weather. You've outsourced your peace to forces completely beyond your control. The fifth trigger is scarcity wiring. This is the deepest and oldest pattern. Somewhere along the way, your nervous system learned that resources are scarce and survival is always at stake. Maybe it was growing up poor, or watching your parents stress about money, or experiencing a financial trauma. Whatever the origin, your body now interprets any spending or giving as dangerous depletion. Even when you have plenty, you feel like you're always one mistake away from ruin. The sixth trigger is legacy burden. You're not just managing money for yourself anymore. You're thinking about kids, aging parents, future generations. You feel responsible for outcomes decades away. This expands your stress horizon infinitely. You can't ever relax because someone in the future might need what you have today. Generosity becomes weighted with guilt, and planning becomes paralysis. Take a moment right now and just notice which of these 6 triggers landed in your body as I described them. You don't need to fix anything. Just notice. Where did you feel a little pull, a little recognition, a little, oh, that's me? This awareness is the first step towards something different. You can't change a pattern you can't see. Now I want to offer you something radical. What if you already have enough? I don't mean enough to stop earning or growing. I mean enough to stop suffering while you do it. The concept I want to introduce is called the sufficiency threshold. This is the specific amount of money that meets your actual needs for security, dignity, contribution, and joy. Not your fantasies, not your fears, not what society or your peer group says you should want. Your real needs. Most people never calculate this number. They just chase more, because more is the default setting in our culture. But more is not a destination. It's a treadmill. And you can't step off a treadmill by running faster. You have to stop and do the math. What does security actually cost you? Not theoretical security in some imaginary worst-case scenario. Real security. The ability to meet your obligations, handle emergencies, maintain your health, live with dignity. When you add it up honestly, it's usually far less than you think. What does contribution cost? The ability to give, support causes you care about, help people you love, make a difference in domains that matter to you. Again, probably less than you fear. What does joy cost? The experiences, comforts, pleasures, and freedoms that make your life feel worth living. This is subjective and personal, but it's also calculable. You can actually name the dollar amount of an annual life that feels genuinely good to you. When you add these up, you get your sufficiency threshold. For most people in developed economies, this number lands somewhere between $75,000 and $200,000 of annual income, depending on location and circumstances. Beyond that point, additional income produces almost no additional happiness or peace. The research confirms this again and again. Once your sufficiency needs are met, more money just creates more complexity without more contentment. But here's what's beautiful and transformative about knowing your number. Once you cross that threshold, everything changes. You're no longer in survival mode. You're no longer climbing towards safety. You've arrived at enough. Now every dollar beyond that is surplus. It's abundance. It's play money. It can be saved, invested, given away, or enjoyed without any nervous system cost because you're already secure. Your baseline is. This doesn't mean you stop growing wealth. It means you stop growing anxiety while you do it. The psychological shift is profound. Before your threshold, every dollar matters to your survival. After your threshold, every dollar is bonus. Before your threshold, losing money feels like dying. After your threshold, losing money is just information. Your identity and nervous system decouple from your net worth. Let me give you a real example. I know a woman named Sarah who spent 15 years building a consulting practice. She went from broke and scared to making $400,000 a year. But she felt exactly as anxious at $400,000 as she had at $40,000. Maybe more anxious because now she had a lifestyle to maintain and a reputation to protect. She came to me exhausted, crying in our first meeting, saying she felt like a fraud because she had everything she thought she wanted and still couldn't sleep at night. We did her sufficiency calculation. Security for her meant having a year of expenses saved, health insurance, and retirement contributions on track. That required about $90,000 annually. Contribution meant giving 10% to causes she cared about and helping her sister with her kids' education. That was another $20,000. Joy meant travel 4 times a year, a nice home, good food, and hobbies. That was another $60,000. Her actual sufficiency threshold was $170,000. She was making more than twice what she needed to feel completely secure and joyful. This realization changed everything. She stopped taking every client opportunity that came her way. She fired the difficult clients who paid well but destroyed her peace. She cut her work schedule to 4 days a week. Her income dropped to about $250,000, which was still way above her threshold. But her anxiety dropped by what she described as 80%. She started sleeping through the night. She enjoyed her vacations instead of working through them. She gave money away without second-guessing. She felt rich for the first time in her life, not because she had more, but because she knew she had enough. This is the peace that comes from sufficiency. You're not constantly looking over your shoulder or racing toward the next milestone. You're standing on solid ground. And from that ground, you can build whatever wealth you want, but you're building from overflow, not desperation. The energy is completely different. Decisions come from creativity instead of fear. You take better risks because you're not risking your survival. You say no more easily because you don't need every opportunity. You enjoy what you have because you're not constantly fixating on what you lack. Now let's talk about the single biggest obstacle to peaceful wealth, and it's not the economy or the market or your income level. It's your identity. Specifically, it's the way you've fused your sense of self with your financial outcomes. You are not your net worth. You are not your income. You are not your portfolio performance. You are not your job title or your tax bracket or your investment strategy. But somewhere along the way you started believing you were. And now every financial fluctuation feels like a fluctuation in your fundamental worth as a human being. This is what I call ego-economic fusion. Your ego, that part of you that needs to feel special and secure and superior, has latched onto money as its primary evidence of value. When your accounts grow, you feel like you're growing. When they shrink, you feel like you're shrinking. You've outsourced your entire sense of okayness to something completely external and volatile. This is a recipe for lifelong suffering. The detox from this fusion is one of the most liberating things you can do. It starts with a simple practice of separating your self-descriptors from your financial descriptors. Who are you beyond your income? What makes you valuable beyond your productivity? If every dollar you had vanished tomorrow, what would remain of your identity? These aren't hypothetical questions. They're diagnostic tools that reveal how deeply your ego has merged with your economics. I want you to try something right now, out loud or in your mind. Complete this sentence 15 times with 15 different answers. I am. And then describe yourself without using any financial, professional, or achievement-based language. I am kind. I am curious. I am someone who loves music. I am a good friend. I am learning to be patient. I am complicated. I am resilient. See how many you can generate that have nothing to do with what you do, or what you earn, or what you've accomplished. This is the bedrock of your identity. Everything else is just weather. When you practice this regularly, something shifts. Market crashes stop feeling like personal catastrophes. Career setbacks stop feeling like identity crises. Wealth becomes something you have, not something you are. And from that place of solid self-worth, you make radically better financial decisions. You don't take jobs that destroy your soul just because they pay well. You don't stay in toxic business partnerships because you're afraid of losing income. You don't hoard resources out of fear that giving them away makes you less than. You operate from wholeness instead of lack. There's a man I worked with named David who had built his entire identity around being a successful investor. He was brilliant at it. He'd turned a small inheritance into several $1 million over 20 years. But he was utterly miserable. Every day was consumed by market analysis, portfolio optimization, and comparison to other investors. His marriage was suffering. His health was declining. He couldn't remember the last time he'd done something just for fun. His wealth had become his prison. When I asked him who he was beyond his investing, he went completely blank. He literally couldn't answer. Everything he valued about himself was tied to his financial acumen. So we started the slow work of excavation. We found a guy who loved woodworking but hadn't touched his tools in a decade. We found someone who used to write poetry. We found a person who cared deeply about environmental conservation but never acted on it because he was too busy optimizing returns. Over 6 months, David started reclaiming these parts of himself. He joined a woodworking co-op. He started writing again, badly at first, but with increasing joy. He began donating to conservation groups and volunteering on weekends. His investment performance actually improved because he wasn't emotionally attached to every trade. But more importantly, he started liking himself again. He wasn't just a walking portfolio. He was a human being with interests and values and relationships. His wealth became a tool for living, not a substitute for life itself. This brings us to a counterintuitive principle. The less you need from your money emotionally, the better your money tends to perform. When you're desperate for wealth to validate you, you make fear-based decisions. You chase trends. You hold losing positions too long because selling feels like admitting failure. You take excessive risks to prove something. You miss opportunities because you're paralyzed by the stakes. But when your identity is secure regardless of your finances, you make clear-eyed, strategic, patient decisions. You can afford to be rational because the outcomes don't determine your worth. Let's talk about simplicity. One of the fastest ways to destroy peaceful wealth is to make your financial life unnecessarily complex. Multiple investment accounts at different institutions. Dozens of subscriptions you forgot about. Credit cards you opened for sign-up bonuses but now carry small balances. Rental properties in different states. Business entities you're not sure you still need. Tax strategies that require constant attention. Insurance policies layered on top of each other. Every layer of complexity adds cognitive load and anxiety. There's this seductive idea in wealth-building culture that sophistication equals success. That the more complex your financial structure, the more advanced you must be. This is nonsense. Complexity is often just anxiety wearing a suit. It's the illusion of control. You think if you can just optimize every variable, hedge every risk, maximize every tax advantage, you'll finally feel secure. But what you actually create is a system that requires constant monitoring and maintenance, a system that owns you instead of serving you. The peaceful wealth alternative is radical simplicity. Consolidate accounts. Cancel subscriptions you don't actively use. Sell assets that require more energy than they return. Simplify your tax structure even if it costs you a bit more. Choose investments that don't need daily attention. The goal is to design a financial system that runs smoothly in the background of your life, supporting your actual living instead of consuming it. I challenge you to track how much time you spend on financial tasks in a typical week. Include everything: checking accounts, monitoring investments, paying bills, researching purchases, comparing prices, reading financial news, worrying about money. For most people, this adds up to somewhere between 10 and 30 hours a week. That's a part-time job with no salary. Now imagine if you could reduce that to 2 hours a week with no reduction in outcomes. What would you do with the extra 28 hours? That's the gift of simplification. There's a concept from computer science called technical debt. Every shortcut you take, every quick fix you implement, every layer you add without removing something else creates debt that you'll have to pay down later. Financial complexity works the same way. Every new account, every new strategy, every new optimization creates maintenance debt. And eventually the debt becomes so large that you're entire. Now I want to introduce you to a completely different way of thinking about investment strategy. Most people are taught to maximize returns. Find the highest yield, beat the market, capture alpha. But this approach creates a surveillance relationship with your money. You have to watch it constantly because performance varies constantly. And that surveillance state is corrosive to peace. What if instead of maximizing returns, you optimized for peace per dollar? What if the primary metric wasn't how much your money grew, but how little attention and anxiety it required? This is the philosophy behind slow money. You deliberately choose investments that perform well over long time horizons with minimal volatility and zero maintenance. You sacrifice a bit of potential upside in exchange for massive reductions in stress. Slow money might mean boring index funds that track the whole market instead of individual stocks. It might mean treasury bonds or high-grade municipal bonds instead of volatile growth plays. It might mean real estate that cash flows consistently instead of speculative development deals. It might mean keeping more in savings than financial advisors recommend, because the security lets you sleep at night. The math might not be optimal, but your nervous system will thank you. Let me be clear. This isn't about being conservative or risk-averse. It's about being intentional. Some people genuinely enjoy active investing. They love the research, the strategy, the game of it. Their nervous system finds it energizing, not depleting. If that's you, great, do it. But most people fall into active investing because they think they're supposed to, or because they're anxious and it feels like taking control. For those people, active investing is just another expression of the same anxiety they're trying to solve. It's not the cure. It's a symptom. The test is simple. Does your investment strategy give you energy or take it? Do you check your portfolio because you're excited and curious, or because you're anxious and compulsive? Do market downturns make you interested in opportunities, or do they make you nauseous? Your honest answers tell you whether you're built for active wealth management or whether you'd be better served by a slow money approach. I know a couple, Marcus and Lynn, who spent years trying to be sophisticated investors. They had individual stocks, option strategies, cryptocurrency positions, and rental properties. Marcus spent at least 20 hours a week managing it all. Lynn had anxiety attacks every time the market dropped. They made decent returns, but they were exhausted. Their entire emotional life revolved around their portfolio. One year they took a sabbatical and traveled for 6 months. They couldn't actively manage their investments, so they sold everything and put it all into target date retirement funds. Boring, simple, hands-off. When they came back, they expected to be behind. Instead, they'd performed almost identically to their active period, and they'd had 6 months of peace. They never went back. They kept the simple structure. Marcus got his evenings back. Lynn stopped having panic attacks. They redirected that recovered energy into their marriage and their creative projects. Their wealth still grew, but it grew quietly in the background while they actually lived their lives. This is the promise of slow money. Your wealth becomes like a garden you planted years ago. You check on it occasionally. You water it when needed, but mostly you just let it grow according to its nature. You don't sit there pulling on the plants to make them taller. You trust the process. You focus on living while your money does its quiet work. Now let's address something crucial. How do you evaluate new opportunities when they arise? Because they will arise. Business ventures, investment deals, side hustles, real estate offers. The default approach is to analyze them financially. What's the ROI? What's the upside potential? What's the risk-adjusted return? These are important questions, but they're incomplete. They ignore the most important variable, which is what this opportunity will cost your nervous system. I call this the energy ROI framework. For every opportunity, you calculate 2 returns. The financial return, yes, but also the peace return. How much mental space will this require? How much emotional energy? How much time and attention? How will it affect your sleep, your relationships, your baseline stress level? Once you factor in these costs, many opportunities that look good financially become clearly bad holistically. Let me give you a formula. Energy ROI equals financial gain divided by nervous system cost. An opportunity that generates $100,000 but costs you your health, your marriage, and your sanity has a terrible energy. ROI. An opportunity that generates $30,000 but requires 2 hours a month and brings you joy has an excellent energy. ROI. When you start evaluating through this lens, your decisions change radically. You turn down the high-paying consulting gig with the nightmare client. You pass on the investment property that would require you to become a landlord. You say no to the business partnership that would double your income but triple your stress. You stop equating more money with better opportunity. You start asking better questions. Does this align with how I want to spend my energy? Does this move me toward peace or away from it? Will I look back on this grateful or resentful? This framework protects you from the trap of golden handcuffs. You know that trap. The job or client or investment that pays too well to leave but slowly destroys you. You tell yourself you'll just do it for 1 more year. Then you'll have enough to quit. But 1 year becomes 5, becomes 15. The income that was supposed to buy you freedom becomes the reason you can't escape. Every raise makes it harder to leave. Your lifestyle expands to meet your income, and now you need this much just to maintain. You're trapped by your own success. The energy ROI framework gives you permission to make what looks like suboptimal financial decisions because you understand there's no such thing as financial optimization in isolation. You optimize for whole life outcomes. Sometimes that means earning less to stress less. Sometimes it means choosing flexibility over income. Sometimes it means trading upside potential for downside protection. These decisions look foolish to people who only track dollars. They look brilliant to people who track peace. Let's do a grounding exercise together. This will only take about 90 seconds, but it's one of the most powerful tools you can use to calm your money nervous system. You can do this before checking your bank balance, before a financial conversation, during market volatility, Anytime you notice money anxiety rising, start by feeling your feet on the ground. Press them down slightly. Notice the contact. Notice the support. The ground is holding you. Now take a breath in through your nose for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for 7 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release through your mouth for 8 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do that 2 more times at your own pace. 4 in, 7 hold, 8 out. 4 in, 7 hold, 8 out. Now place 1 hand on your chest and 1 hand on your belly. Feel them rise and fall with your breath. Say to yourself either out loud or silently, I am safe right now. I have what I need right now. I can handle what comes. Repeat that 3 times. I am safe right now. I have what I need right now. I can handle what comes. Notice how your body responds to these words. You might feel a softening, a releasing, a small sense of okay. That's your nervous system downregulating. That's you reclaiming your biological state from the grip of financial fear. This is not positive thinking. This is nervous system training. You're teaching your body that financial information doesn't have to trigger survival responses. You're creating a new pathway. Over time, with practice, this becomes automatic. Your default state shifts from anxious vigilance to calm awareness. You can look at numbers without your heart racing. You can make decisions from clarity instead of panic. Let me talk about automation, because this is where peaceful wealth gets practical. The more you can automate your financial life, the less it can colonize your consciousness. Automation isn't just convenient. It's therapeutic. It removes decision fatigue. It eliminates the opportunity for shame or guilt around spending. It ensures important things happen without your having to remember them. Here's what comprehensive financial automation looks like. Your paycheck arrives and instantly distributes itself according to preset rules. A percentage goes to savings. A percentage goes to investments. A percentage goes to giving. A percentage covers fixed expenses. What remains is genuinely discretionary, yours to spend without guilt because everything important already happened automatically. You never touched it. You never decided it. It just flowed according to the system you designed during a calm moment. Bills pay themselves. Retirement contributions happen without your input. Rebalancing happens annually on autopilot. Tax estimates calculate and save themselves. You're not doing any of this. It's all running in the background while you focus on living. The goal is to reduce your required financial decision-making to nearly zero. You check in monthly to make sure everything's functioning, but you're not in there daily, tweaking and adjusting and second-guessing. The psychological impact of this is profound. You're no longer in a constant state of financial alertness. You're not carrying a mental list of bills to pay and transfers to make and contributions to remember. Your cognitive bandwidth opens up. Your stress decreases. And paradoxically, your financial outcomes often improve because the system you designed is more disciplined than your in-the-moment self ever is. I want to tell you about a realization that changed my relationship with giving. For years, I approached generosity from a scarcity mindset. Every dollar I gave away was a dollar I didn't have anymore. Even when I could afford it, even when I wanted to support people and causes, there was this background fear that I was depleting myself. Giving felt virtuous but dangerous, and that made it feel heavy instead of light. Then I learned something from neuroscience. Your brain doesn't actually distinguish between resources you have and resources you give. When you give from a place of genuine generosity, your nervous system receives the same signal as when you receive. You feel abundant, not because you have more, but because you're acting from a place of overflow. Giving becomes the evidence your nervous system needs to believe you're secure. This flips the whole equation. You're not giving despite feeling scarce. You're giving in order to feel abundant. Generosity becomes nervous system medicine. It's a direct way to combat scarcity wiring. Every time you give something away and you're okay, you're proving to your deepest self that resources flow, that there's enough, that you're not in survival mode. Over time, this rewires your baseline relationship to money. But this only works if you give strategically. Giving from obligation or guilt or pressure reinforces scarcity. You're just proving that other people's needs are more important than your own, which makes you feel depleted, not abundant. Strategic giving means giving from genuine overflow, to causes and people you truly care about, in amounts that feel generous but not reckless. You should feel a little stretch, a little vulnerability, but not terror. Here's a practice. Allocate a specific percentage of your income to giving, somewhere between 5 and 15% depending on your circumstances. Automate it so it happens before you have a chance to second guess. Then choose your recipients carefully. Not whoever asks the loudest, but who and what you genuinely want to support. When you give this way, watch what happens in your body. You'll likely feel lighter, more open, more secure. That's the signal. That's your nervous system learning abundance. There's a woman named Jasmine who grew up in deep poverty. She spent her entire childhood watching her parents stress about money. When she became successful as an adult, she hoarded every penny. She made well into six figures but lived like she was broke. She couldn't enjoy anything because spending felt like dying. Her scarcity wiring was that deep. I suggested she start giving away $500 a month. She almost couldn't do it. The fear was overwhelming, but she committed. She chose organizations working on poverty issues, causes connected to her story. The first few months were agony. She'd make the donation and then panic, checking her accounts obsessively to make sure she was still okay. But gradually something shifted. She saw that she was still okay. Month after month she gave, and she was still okay. Her income kept growing. Her savings kept growing. The giving didn't destroy her. After a year, she told me she felt rich for the first time in her life. Not because she had more, but because she could give and be fine. That was the permission slip her nervous system needed. She started spending on herself too, small pleasures that used to feel forbidden. She took a vacation without guilt. She bought art for her apartment. The scarcity prison opened because she'd proven to herself through giving that she lived in a world of enough. Now let's talk about what happens when everything goes wrong. Because it will. Markets crash, businesses fail, jobs disappear, investments implode. The question isn't whether you'll face financial volatility. The question is whether you'll stay sane when you do. This is where the wealth anchor practice becomes essential. The wealth anchor is a somatic tool that keeps you grounded during financial chaos. It's a set of physical and mental techniques that prevent you from spiraling when the numbers get scary. The first component is a reality check. When you see a big loss or a frightening drop, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, am I physically safe right now? Do I have food, shelter, health care right this moment? The answer is almost always yes. The crisis is abstract and future-focused, not immediate and physical. This simple recognition can stop the panic cascade. The second component is breath and body awareness. When you get scary financial news, your body tightens. Your breath gets shallow. Your mind starts racing through catastrophic scenarios. Interrupt this. Take 10 conscious breaths. Slow, deep, deliberate. Feel your body soften. This isn't denial. This is regulation. You're bringing your nervous system back online so you can think clearly instead of reacting from panic. The third component is perspective. Zoom out. This moment is one moment in a long timeline. You've survived every financial challenge you've faced so far. You have skills, relationships, adaptability. You're more resourced than you feel in this moment of fear. This too will pass. The market will recover. You will find new income. You will adjust. You always do. The fourth component is action from calm. Only after you've anchored yourself do you take action. You don't sell everything in a panic. You don't make desperate moves. You assess clearly and respond strategically. Maybe you do need to make changes. Fine. But you make them from a regulated state, not a hijacked one. Practice this anchor during small volatility so it's available during big volatility. When you see a small account drop, practice the full sequence. Reality check. Breath and body, perspective. Action from calm. You're training yourself. You're building the capacity to stay steady when things shake. This is emotional anti-fragility. You don't just survive chaos. You navigate it skillfully. I'm going to guide you through a short visualization now. This helps create neural pathways for peaceful wealth. Get comfortable. Close your eyes if you're in a safe space to do so. Take 3 deep breaths. Now imagine yourself 5 years from now. You've implemented everything we're talking about. Your financial life is simple, automated, and peaceful. You know your sufficiency number and you've exceeded it. Your identity is no longer fused with your finances. See yourself waking up in the morning. There's no financial dread, no compulsion to check your accounts. You make coffee. You sit with it. You feel calm. Later, you check your balances because you're curious, not because you're anxious. The numbers are good, but even if they weren't, you'd be okay. You have a foundation that can't be shaken by market fluctuations. See yourself making a financial decision. Maybe someone offers you an opportunity. You consider it through the energy ROI framework. Does this serve my peace or compromise it? You decide clearly, yes or no, based on your values, not your fears. You don't second guess. You trust yourself. See yourself giving money away. It feels easy, natural. You support people and causes you care about. There's no scarcity clutch. You're giving from overflow. See yourself at the end of this day. You haven't thought about money more than a few minutes. It's handled. It's in the background. Your attention was on your work, your relationships, your creativity, your life. You lie down to sleep and you're not carrying financial anxiety into your dreams. You're free. This is available to you. This isn't fantasy. This is what peaceful wealth actually feels like. Open your eyes, come back. Hold on to that feeling. Let's talk about building anti-fragile wealth. Most people think of financial security as protecting against loss. They build bigger buffers, more insurance, more diversification, all good strategies. But they're defensive. They're designed to minimize damage when bad things happen. Anti-fragile wealth goes further. It's designed to actually benefit from volatility and chaos. Here's how it works. You structure your finances with a barbell approach. On one side, you have maximum safety. 90% of your assets are in boring, stable, highly protected positions. Cash reserves that can cover a year of expenses. Treasury bonds. Broad index funds. Real estate you own outright. These positions don't make you rich, but they make you unshakable. You cannot be forced into desperate decisions because your foundation is solid. On the other side of the barbell, you have 10% in asymmetric bets. These are high-risk, high-reward positions where you could lose everything you put in, but the upside is exponential. Startup investments, speculative assets, creative projects, ambitious business ventures. You only put in what you can afford to lose completely, so losses don't hurt you. But if any of these hit, they transform your situation entirely. This structure is anti-fragile because you benefit from both stability and chaos. In calm times, your safe positions provide steady returns and peace of mind. In chaotic times, your safe positions protect you from catastrophe, while your risky positions have huge potential upside. You're not just surviving volatility. You're positioned to profit from it. And psychologically, this is incredibly liberating. You can take real swings because you know you can't fall. Compare this to the middle ground approach most people take. They put most of their money in moderate risk positions. Not super safe, not super risky. I want to ask you something, and I want you to really sit with this question. What would you do differently in your financial life if you knew you couldn't fail? Not in a magical thinking way, but in a practical way. If you had such a solid foundation that no realistic failure could destroy you, how would your decisions change? What would you try? What would you give? What would you say no to that you're currently saying yes to out of fear? This question reveals the gap between where you are and where you want to be. For most people, the gap isn't actually about having more money. It's about feeling secure enough to make choices from desire instead of desperation. The anti-fragile structure creates that security. It gives you the foundation to take the risks that actually matter to you, not reckless risks, meaningful risks. The difference between those two is everything. Let me tell you about Tom, who spent 30 years climbing the corporate ladder. He was good at it. He made excellent money, but he hated it. He dreamed of starting a nonprofit working with kids, but he couldn't afford to walk away from his income. Or so he thought. When we looked at his finances, he had nearly $2 million saved. His annual expenses were about $80,000. He had 25 years of living expenses already in the bank. He wasn't trapped by lack of money. He was trapped by lack of structure. We restructured everything. Put 90% into safe positions, generating about $60,000 annually with no volatility. That plus Social Security would cover his essentials forever. The remaining 10% we freed up for his nonprofit dream. If it failed completely, he'd still be fine. That permission changed everything. He left the corporate job. He started the nonprofit. 3 years later, it's thriving, and he looks 10 years younger. The money was never the issue. The structure was the issue. This brings us to legacy, which is usually where wealth conversations get heavy and depressing. Wills, trusts, estate taxes, inheritance conflicts. But I want to reframe legacy entirely. Your legacy isn't what you leave, it's what you model. The question isn't how much money will your kids inherit. The question is, what relationship to money will they learn from watching you? If they watch you stress about wealth constantly, that's their legacy. If they watch you hoard resources from fear, that's their legacy. If they watch you sacrifice your health and relationships to accumulate more, that's their legacy. But if they watch you live from sufficiency, give from overflow, make choices from peace, maintain your values regardless of financial outcomes, that's a legacy worth inheriting. You're not just transferring assets. You're transferring a way of being. This means the most important estate planning you can do is becoming the kind of person whose relationship with money you'd want your children to inherit. Stop waiting until you have enough to relax. Relax now, at whatever level you're at, and build from there. Stop postponing generosity until you're richer. Be generous now and watch what it teaches everyone around you. Stop fusing your identity with your income. Separate them now and show the next generation that human worth isn't measured in dollars. There's a practice I recommend for this. Write a legacy letter, not about what you're leaving, but about what you've learned. Tell your story. What were your money mistakes? What were your money breakthroughs? What do you wish someone had told you at 25? What would you want them to know if you died tomorrow? This letter is more valuable than any inheritance because it gives them the wisdom to handle whatever they receive. And honestly, the process of writing it clarifies your own values and priorities. It's a gift to yourself as much as to them. I know a father named Robert who did this. He had built significant wealth, but realized his kids only knew him as stressed and absent, always working. He wrote them each a letter about his journey. How he grew up poor and how that drove him. How he succeeded financially but nearly lost everything that mattered in the process. How he was learning late in life that wealth was supposed to serve life, not consume it. He gave them the letters while he was still alive and healthy. His kids told him those letters changed their whole understanding of him and of money. They saw his humanity, his struggles, his growth. They forgave his absences because they understood the fear underneath. And they made different choices in their own lives because they'd received his hard-won wisdom. That's legacy. Not the money he eventually left them, though that helped. The permission he gave them to want something different than he'd wanted. The model of someone who learned and changed. That's what endures. Now we're approaching the end of this journey together, and I want to bring it all back to where we started. Your bank account is growing. So is your anxiety. We've explored why that happens and, more importantly, how to change it. You've learned that the problem isn't your wealth. It's your nervous system's relationship to your wealth. You've learned about the 6 stress triggers: the sufficiency threshold, ego-economic fusion, radical simplicity, slow money, energy ROI, automation, strategic giving, the wealth anchor, anti-fragile structure, and legacy beyond assets. But understanding concepts doesn't create transformation. Practice creates transformation. So I want to give you a 90-day integration path. This is how you actually embody peaceful wealth instead of just intellectually understanding it. The first 30 days are about nervous system regulation becoming a daily practice. Every morning you do the 4-7-8 breathing. Every time you check your finances, you do a grounding exercise first. Every night before sleep, you list 3 things you have enough of. You're training your body to associate money with calm instead of alarm. During these first 30 days, you're also doing your sufficiency calculation. You're getting clear on your actual numbers. Security, contribution, joy. Add them up. Know your threshold. This isn't aspirational. This is real. What does your genuine enough actually cost? Once you know, everything else is surplus and you can stop white-knuckling your way toward an imaginary finish line that keeps moving. Days 31 through 60 are about system building. You automate everything that can be automated. You consolidate accounts. You simplify structures. You set up your barbell allocation. 90% safe, 10% asymmetric. You create your giving plan and automate those transfers. You're building infrastructure that will run your financial life without consuming your attention. This is hard work up front, but it's one-time hard work that yields decades of ease. During this period, you're also practicing identity separation. You complete the I am exercise daily with different descriptors each time. You catch yourself when you're fusing your worth with your performance. You practice introducing yourself without mentioning your job or income. You're decoupling your ego from your economics. It feels awkward at first, like learning a new language. But over time, it becomes natural. You become someone who has wealth instead of someone who is their wealth. Days 61 through 90 are about integration and testing. You face a market downturn with your wealth anchor practice. You turn down an opportunity that has good financial ROI but bad energy ROI. You give money away and notice how it feels. You go a full week without checking your investment accounts and measure your anxiety. You're stress testing your new structure. You're proving to yourself that this works, that you can actually live this way. By day 90, you're not finished. This isn't a one-time transformation. It's an ongoing practice. But you've built the foundation. You have the tools. You know what peaceful wealth feels like in your body, not just as a concept. And from that foundation, you can build whatever financial future you want. But you'll build it from overflow instead of desperation, from creativity instead of fear, from wholeness instead of lack. Let me ask you something. What would have to be true for you to consider yourself successful beyond any question? Really think about it. For most people, the honest answer isn't a number. It's a feeling. I want to feel safe. I want to feel free. I want to feel generous. I want to feel like I'm enough. The tragedy is that we spend our whole lives chasing external markers of success, thinking they'll deliver those feelings, and they never do. The markers keep moving. The feelings stay out of reach. But here's what I've learned and what I want you to understand at the deepest level. Those feelings aren't on the other side of more money. They're on the other side of a different relationship with the money you already have. You don't need to earn your way to enoughness. You need to recognize that you're already enough and let your financial life flow from that recognition instead of constantly trying to prove it. This is the serenity of success. It's not the absence of ambition. It's not settling or giving up. It's the presence of peace while you're building, earning, growing, contributing. It's success that feels like solid ground instead of quicksand. It's wealth that serves your life instead of hijacking it. It's money that flows through you to good purposes instead of getting dammed up by fear and hoarding. You can start right now. You don't need to wait until you've restructured everything, or calculated every number, or automated every system. You can start with one breath before one financial decision. You can start with one morning where you don't check your accounts first thing. You can start with one honest conversation about what you actually want from your wealth. You can start by asking yourself, what is this money for? And if the answer is peace, security, and freedom, then build toward that instead of toward more. Here's what I promise you if you do this work. You won't suddenly stop caring about money. You'll care about it differently. You won't stop building wealth. You'll build it more sustainably. You won't eliminate all financial stress. You'll develop the capacity to move through it without being destroyed by it. You won't achieve some permanent state of bliss. You'll access a baseline of okayness that persists through the ups and downs. And here's the real transformation. You'll reach the end of your life measuring your success not by the size of your estate, but by the quality of your days. You'll count the mornings you woke up without dread, the decisions you made from integrity instead of fear, the people you were able to help because you weren't locked in your own survival prison, the experiences you actually enjoyed instead of being too anxious to be present, the nights you slept deeply because your nervous system felt safe. That's the wealth that matters. That's the success worth pursuing. That's the serenity that makes everything else worthwhile. Your bank account might still be growing, but your anxiety doesn't have to grow with it. You can have both the money and the peace. You just have to build them together, intentionally, with wisdom and patience. So I'll leave you with this. Take one breath right now. Feel your body. Notice where you are. Look at what you actually have in this moment. Chances are you have enough for right now. You're safe right now. You're okay right now. That's not denial. That's reality. The catastrophes you're worried about are almost all in the future or in the past. This moment, this breath, this reality. You're here. You're alive. You have what you need to take the next step. Build from here. Not from fear of scarcity, but from recognition of sufficiency. Not from desperate ambition, but from peaceful intention. Not from ego-driven achievement, but from value-aligned creation. The wealth you build from this place will feel different. It will be wealth that serves you, wealth that reflects your values, wealth that supports life instead of consuming it. This is possible. This is practical. This is what peaceful wealth actually looks like. It's not a fantasy reserved for people richer or more enlightened than you. It's a set of practices, structures, and mindset shifts that anyone can implement. You don't have to be perfect at it. You just have to be intentional about it. You don't have to get there overnight. You just have to start moving in that direction. And when you do, when you feel that first taste of genuine financial peace, you'll wonder why you waited so long. You'll realize that the prison you were in had no lock. The pressure you were under was largely self-imposed. The relief you were seeking wasn't in the next zero. It was in a different relationship with the zeros you already had. But let me be honest with you about something crucial. Understanding all of this intellectually is one thing. Living it consistently is another. You're going to have moments where you slip back into old patterns. You're going to wake up at 3 in the morning worrying about money even though your sufficiency threshold is covered. You're going to check your portfolio compulsively during market volatility even though you designed a slow money system. You're going to feel that familiar cortisol spike when a friend buys something expensive and you start comparing. This isn't failure. This is being human with decades of conditioning to unwind. So let me give you a relapse-proofing plan. First, expect the relapses. Don't be surprised when they happen. Your nervous system has deep grooves worn into it from years of financial anxiety. Those grooves don't disappear overnight. They fade gradually as you create new grooves through consistent practice. When you catch yourself in an old pattern, don't spiral into shame about it. That just creates anxiety about your anxiety. Instead, notice it with curiosity. Oh, there's that old pattern again. Hello, I see you. And then gently redirect yourself back to the practices. Second, identify your specific trigger situations in advance. For most people, these fall into predictable categories. Market downturns, big unexpected expenses, conversations with wealthy friends or family members, tax season, annual reviews of goals not met, social media scrolling through other people's success highlights. Knowing your triggers lets you prepare for them. You can literally write yourself a script for what to do when each trigger hits. Let me give you an example. Say your trigger is market volatility. When you see your portfolio drop significantly, here's your script. Step 1, close the app or browser immediately. Don't keep looking. The information is received. Step 2, do the wealth anchor practice. Reality check, breathing, perspective, action from calm. Step 3, remind yourself of your structure. 90% is in safe positions. You're fine. This is exactly the volatility your system was designed to handle. Step 4, if you need to take action, schedule it for 24 hours from now. Almost no financial situation requires immediate reaction. The waiting period lets your nervous system settle so you act from wisdom instead of panic. Having this script written down and accessible means you don't have to think in the moment of activation. You just follow the protocol. It's like a fire drill. You practice it when things are calm, so it's automatic when things are chaotic. I recommend keeping this script in multiple places. In your phone notes, printed and tucked into your wallet, on a sticky note by your computer, wherever you're likely to be when the trigger hits. Third component of relapse proofing is having a recovery ritual. This is what you do after you catch yourself spiraling. Maybe you spent 2 hours doom scrolling financial news and comparing yourself to everyone. Okay, that happened. Now what? Your recovery ritual might be taking a walk without your phone, calling a friend who understands this work and talking it through, doing a longer version of the breathing exercise, journaling about what you're actually afraid of underneath the money anxiety. The ritual gives you a way to metabolize the relapse and return to center instead of staying in the shame spiral. The fourth piece is building in regular checkpoints where you assess how you're doing. I recommend monthly money peace audits. Set aside 30 minutes on the same day each month. Review the 6 stress triggers. Rate yourself 0 to 10 on each. Are you trending better or worse? What practices are working? What needs adjustment? This isn't about perfection. It's about awareness and course correction. You're building a feedback loop that helps you stay on track. Now let me give you a day-by-day micro-challenge structure for the first 30 days. This makes the transformation concrete and manageable. You're not trying to change everything at once. You're building one small habit per day. By the end of 30 days, you have a completely different relationship with money, built through incremental practice. Day 1, your micro-challenge is this. Before you check any financial account today, take 3 conscious breaths. That's it. You're not changing what you check or how often. You're just adding breath before looking. This begins to interrupt the automatic anxiety response. You're creating a tiny pause between stimulus and reaction. Day 2, practice the I am exercise. Write down 10 descriptions of yourself that have nothing to do with work, money, or achievement. I am creative. I am a good listener. I am learning. I am someone who loves dogs. Keep this list somewhere visible. You're beginning to separate identity from economics. Day 3, calculate one piece of your sufficiency threshold. Today, just security. What does it actually cost you annually to feel financially secure? Include housing, food, healthcare, basic transportation, emergency fund contributions. Write down the real number. Don't inflate it with lifestyle desires, just security. What's the amount that would let you sleep at night? Day 4, identify your primary money stress trigger from the 6. Which one activates you most intensely? Income volatility, spending guilt, comparison poisoning, investment anxiety, scarcity wiring, or legacy burden? Name it. You can't work with what you don't acknowledge. Day 5, do a time audit. Track every minute you spend on financial tasks today. Checking accounts, monitoring investments, reading financial news, shopping, comparing prices, worrying. Add it up. This number is usually shocking. You're seeing how much life is being consumed by money management. Day 6, practice the reality check component of the wealth anchor. 3 times today, when you think about money, ask yourself, am I physically safe right now? Do I have what I need in this actual moment? Feel the difference between real present moment reality and projected future fear. Day 7, automate one thing. Pick a single bill or contribution that you currently pay manually. Set it to autopay. You're beginning to remove decision points and build the infrastructure of peaceful wealth. Day 8, Calculate the contribution piece of your sufficiency threshold. What does it cost annually to give in the ways that matter to you? Supporting causes, helping family, being generous in ways aligned with your values. Write the number. Day 9, practice catching ego economic fusion. Every time you think something that links your worth to your wealth today, notice it. You don't have to change it, just see it. I'm successful because I make good money. I'm behind because I don't have as much as her. Just observe these thoughts without judgment. Day 10, clean one area of financial complexity. Cancel a subscription you don't use. Close an account you don't need. Consolidate two things into one. Small simplification, immediate relief. Day 11, calculate the joy piece of your sufficiency threshold. What does it cost annually to feel genuinely joyful? Include experiences, comforts, pleasures, and freedoms that matter to you. Be honest, not ascetic, not indulgent. Just true. Add this to your security and contribution numbers. Now you have your sufficiency threshold. Day 12, practice the 4-7-8 breathing twice today. Once in the morning, once before bed, 4 counts in, 7 counts hold, 8 counts out. You're training your nervous system to downregulate on command. Day 13, do an energy ROI evaluation on your last 3 income sources. For each one, rate the financial gain and the nervous system cost. Calculate energy ROI by dividing gain by cost. See which opportunities are actually serving you holistically. Day 14, write your first version of a legacy letter. Just 1 page. What do you want the people you love to understand about money that you wish you'd understood sooner? This isn't about what you're leaving them. It's about the wisdom you're sharing. Day 15, practice going half a day without checking any financial accounts. Morning to lunch or lunch to bedtime. Track your anxiety level. Notice what happens when you're not constantly monitoring. Day 16, identify one golden handcuff situation in your life. Where are you staying in something that pays well but costs you peace? Just name it. You don't have to quit it today. Just see it clearly. Day 17, set up your barbell allocation. Even if you can't fund it fully yet, create the structure. Open accounts for 90% safe and 10% asymmetric. You're building the anti-fragile foundation. Day 18, practice strategic giving. Make one donation today to something you genuinely care about. An amount that feels generous but not reckless. Notice what happens in your body when you give. Day 19, write your specific trigger script for your primary money stressor. When the situation happens, I will do this, then this, then this. Make it concrete and actionable. Day 20, do a full wealth anchor practice. Reality check, breathing, perspective, action from calm. Run through the whole sequence even though nothing is wrong. You're practicing for when something feels wrong. Day 21, complete a sufficiency comparison. Look at your current annual income or net worth. Compare it to your sufficiency threshold from day 11. Are you above or below? If you're above, how does it feel to know you already have enough? If you're below, how close are you and what's the specific gap? Day 22, automate 2 more things. Savings transfer, investment contribution, giving allocation. Whatever isn't automatic yet, make it automatic. You're building the system that runs without you. Day 23, practice identity separation in conversation. Talk to someone today and introduce yourself or describe what you're up to without mentioning your job, income, or financial status. Notice how strange this might feel. That strangeness is the ego economic fusion loosening. Day 24, simplify 2 more areas. Consolidate accounts, cancel services, sell something that requires more energy than it returns. Complexity reduction is peace creation. Day 25, do a monthly money peace audit even though it's only been 25 days. Rate yourself 0 to 10 on the 6 stress triggers. Compare to where you started. Notice any shifts, even tiny ones. Day 26, practice a full day without checking financial accounts. Morning to night. Monitor your anxiety through the day. Use your breathing practices when it spikes. You're proving to yourself that you can disconnect without catastrophe. Day 27, evaluate one current opportunity through the energy ROI lens. Something you're considering or currently involved in. Calculate the real costs, not just the financial returns. Make a decision based on the full picture. Day 28, revise your legacy letter. Add to it, clarify it. Make it something you'd actually want to give to someone you love. This is your money wisdom distilled. Day 29, identify your recovery ritual. What will you do when you catch yourself in an old pattern? Write it down. Make it something doable and soothing. This is your reset button. Day 30, celebration and commitment. You've done 30 days of micro practices. Review everything you've implemented. Notice what's different in your body, your habits, your relationship to money. Then commit to the next phase. The next 60 days of system building and integration. You're not done. You're just getting started. But you've proven you can do this. Now let's talk about what happens in the next 30 days. Days 31 through 60. This is where you shift from awareness practices to infrastructure building. You're creating the automated systems that will maintain your peaceful wealth without constant effort. Day 31. Complete your automation audit. List every financial task you still do manually. Paying bills, transferring money, rebalancing investments, contributing to savings or giving. Everything. This is your automation to-do list. Day 32. Automate your giving. Set up recurring donations to your chosen organizations. The amount you decided during your sufficiency calculation. This happens now without your input every month. You're training your nervous system that giving is safe and automatic. Day 33. Consolidate all checking accounts into one primary account. Multiple checking accounts create complexity without benefit. One account for income and expenses. Everything else automated from there. You're simplifying the foundation. Day 34. Set up percentage-based savings automation. The day your paycheck arrives, a set percentage automatically moves to savings. 10%, 20%, whatever your plan requires. You never see it in your spending account. It's gone before you can feel loss. Day 35. Create your investment automation. Regular contributions to your 90% safe positions. Monthly or per paycheck. Consistent, automatic, boring. You're building wealth in the background while living in the foreground. Day 36. Set up automatic bill pay for everything possible. Rent or mortgage, utilities, insurance, subscriptions you're keeping. Anything with a consistent amount or acceptable variability. The goal is zero manual bill paying. Day 37. Consolidate investment accounts. You probably have old 401ks, IRAs, brokerage accounts scattered across institutions. Consolidation day. Move everything to one or two providers. Less complexity, less monitoring, more peace. Day 38. Set up annual rebalancing automation if your investment platform offers it. If not, set a calendar reminder for the same day every year. Your portfolio rebalances itself. You don't think about it or time the market. Day 39. Create your budget automation using percentage allocation. This percentage to savings, this to investments, this to giving, this to fixed expenses. Remainder is discretionary. It happens automatically. You're not manually allocating every dollar. The system does it. Day 40. Simplify your credit card situation. One card for everything, paid automatically in full every month. Points or cashback if you want, but simplicity first. No more juggling multiple cards or carrying balances. Day 41. Set up tax automation. If you're self-employed, automatic quarterly estimate transfers. If you're employed, check your withholding and adjust it once to be accurate. Then forget about it until year-end. Taxes shouldn't be a monthly stressor. Day 42. Create your insurance review calendar. Once a year, same day, you review all insurance policies. Health, life, disability, property. Outside of that day, you don't think about insurance. It's handled, it's scheduled, it's contained. Day 43. Automate your retirement contributions to the maximum you can afford. 401k, IRA, whatever vehicles you have access to. Set it to the max, let it run. You're paying your future self automatically. Day 44. Set up spending alerts instead of constant checking. Your bank app can notify you of large transactions or low balances. Let the alerts come to you instead of you seeking them out compulsively. You're shifting from surveillance to notification. Day 45. Create your financial review calendar. 1 day per month for 30 minutes you review everything. Outside of that day, you don't monitor. It's all running automatically. This day is your checkpoint. This is where you assess and adjust if needed. Day 46. Simplify your savings structure. You probably don't need 5 different savings accounts for different goals. One high-yield savings account, maybe one additional for true emergency fund. That's it. Everything else goes to investments. Day 47. Automate your fund money. A set amount transfers automatically to a separate account that's purely discretionary. You can spend this on anything without guilt because everything important already happened automatically. This is your guilt-free spending pool. Day 48. Set up beneficiaries on all accounts. Do this once, forget about it. If something happens to you, your assets go where you want without probate drama. This is basic legacy planning handled in 30 minutes. Day 49. Create your net worth tracking automation. Use an app. Day 50, simplify your investment holdings. If you have dozens of individual positions, consolidate into broad index funds. The goal is a portfolio you can understand on one page. Complexity doesn't equal sophistication. It equals anxiety. Day 51, automate your documentation system. Bank statements, tax documents, receipts. Set up automatic digital filing. Everything goes to cloud storage, organized by year and type. No more paper pile stress. Day 52, create your subscription audit calendar. Twice a year, you review all recurring charges. Cancel what you're not using. Outside of those 2 days, you don't worry about subscription creep. It's contained. Day 53, set up your estate planning task. If you don't have a will, schedule the appointment to create one. If you do, schedule the 5-year review. This gets on the calendar and out of your head. It's handled. Day 54, automate your charitable tax tracking if you itemize. Your donation platform can generate year-end reports. Set it up once. Every year it's automatic. You're removing the friction from generosity. Day 55, simplify your business finances if you're self-employed. One business checking, one business savings, one business credit card. Keep business and personal completely separate. Automate the transfer of owner pay. Clean lines, clear systems. Day 56, create your debt payoff automation if you have any. Extra payments go automatically to the highest interest rate debt. The snowball happens without your managing it monthly. It's on autopilot. Day 57, set up your financial education calendar. 1 book per quarter, 1 podcast per week, 1 article per month. Whatever your rhythm is, make it consistent and contained. You're learning without obsessing. Day 58, automate your cash buffer maintenance. Your checking account should have a consistent buffer, maybe 1 month of expenses. When it gets too high, automatic transfer to savings. When it gets low, automatic transfer from savings. The buffer maintains itself. Day 59, create your communication automation with any financial advisor or accountant. Quarterly check-ins scheduled a year in advance. You're not constantly reaching out. It's structured, predictable, contained. Day 60, final system check. Review everything you've automated over the past 30 days. Test it, make sure it's all working. Adjust anything that's not quite right. You've now built a financial system that requires about 2 hours a month to maintain. Everything else is automatic. This is the infrastructure of peaceful wealth. The final 30 days, days 61 through 90, are about integration, testing, and making this your new normal. You're not building new systems. You're living with the systems you built and developing the internal capacity to maintain peace even when external conditions change. Day 61, intentionally expose yourself to market volatility information. Check the news about market drops or uncertainty. Notice your body's response. Practice your wealth anchor. You're desensitizing yourself through controlled exposure. Day 62, have a money conversation with someone close to you using your new framework. Talk about sufficiency thresholds, energy ROI, peaceful wealth. Notice how it feels to articulate these ideas. Teaching them to someone else deepens your own integration. Day 63, practice saying no to a financial opportunity. Something comes up, maybe it's good. Maybe you would have said yes before. Today, evaluate it through the energy ROI lens and practice declining if the math doesn't work holistically. You're strengthening your no muscle. Day 64, review your trigger script and update it based on what you've learned. Are there pieces that work better than you expected? Things that don't work as written? Refine it. Make it more precisely matched to your actual nervous system. Day 65, do a gratitude practice specifically for what you already have financially. List 10 things your current money situation affords you. Not what you wish you had, what you actually have. This trains the sufficiency lens. Day 66, practice a full week without checking investment accounts. Monday through Sunday, no portfolio monitoring. Use your breathing practices when anxiety spikes. Prove to yourself that not checking doesn't create catastrophe. Day 67, revisit your legacy letter and add a section about mistakes you've made. What did you do financially that you regret? What would you do differently? This vulnerability is what makes the letter valuable. You're offering hard-won wisdom, not just sanitized advice. Day 68, identify your next-level growth edge. What's the money pattern that still activates you most? Maybe you've made progress on most triggers, but one remains sticky. Name it. This becomes your focus for the next phase of work. Day 69, practice giving beyond your automated amount. An unexpected opportunity to help someone or support something. Give spontaneously and generously. Notice the fear and do it anyway. You're proving overflow exists. Day 70. Do a detailed energy ROI analysis of your current work situation. Your job or business, whatever generates your primary income. Is it actually serving you holistically, or is it a golden handcuff situation? Be brutally honest. You don't have to change anything today, but you need to see clearly. Day 71. Create a vision of your peaceful wealth life 5 years from now. Write it in detail. What does your typical day look like? How do you feel when you think about money? What systems are running in the background? This vision becomes your North Star. Day 72. Practice receiving financial good news with the same equanimity as bad news. Something good happens, a bonus or a gain. Notice your nervous system's response. Does it spike with excitement and then fear? Practice staying regulated even with good news. Peace isn't just for downturns. Day 73. Have a conversation with your younger self about money. What would you tell the you from 10 years ago? What wisdom would have saved you suffering? Write it as a letter. This clarifies how far you've come. Day 74. Test your sufficiency threshold against a hypothetical scenario. If your income dropped to exactly your threshold amount, how would your life change? What would you lose? What would stay the same? This reveals whether your threshold is real or aspirational. Day 75. Practice disconnecting your mood from market movements. Check your portfolio. Note the change up or down, then consciously release any emotional charge around it. The number is information, not identity. You're practicing detachment. Day 76. Do a social media fast for money comparison. No scrolling feeds where you'll see other people's wealth displays. Notice if your financial anxiety decreases when you're not constantly comparing. Day 77. Revisit your 6 stress trigger ratings. You did this at day 25. Do it again. Rate yourself 0 to 10 on each trigger. Notice the trends. Where have you made progress? Where are you stuck? This feedback loop guides your continued work. Day 78. Practice vulnerability about money with someone you trust. Share something you're afraid of financially or something you're working on changing. Shame thrives in secrecy. Speaking it out loud often dissolves half its power. Day 79. Review your time audit from day 5. Do another one today. How much time are you spending on financial tasks now compared to then? The number should be dramatically lower. You're quantifying the peace dividend. Day 80. Create your relapse response card. A physical card you carry with your trigger script, your recovery ritual, and 3 statements that ground you. I am safe right now. I have what I need right now. I can handle what comes. When you're activated, you pull out this card and follow it. Day 81. Practice making a values-based financial decision. Something comes up where you have to choose between what's financially optimal and what's aligned with your values. Choose values. Notice how it feels. You're proving that your money serves your principles, not the other way around. Day 82. Do a mini wealth anchor practice 5 times throughout the day. Every time you think about money, even passively, run through the quick version. Reality check, 1 breath perspective. You're making the anchor reflexive. Day 83. Review all the automation you set up in days 31 through 60. Is it all still running smoothly? Anything need adjustment? This maintenance is part of the system. Once per quarter, you do this review. Day 84. Practice contentment with your current level. For today, imagine you will never have more money than you have right now. Can you be okay with that? Can you find sufficiency in what is? This isn't about lack of ambition. It's about decoupling happiness from accumulation. Day 85. Write a celebration letter to yourself. Acknowledge how far you've come in 85 days. What's different? What are you proud of? What surprised you? This positive reinforcement matters. You're not just working on problems. You're building capacity. Day 86. Practice advanced energy ROI evaluation. Look at your entire life situation through this lens. Relationships, commitments, habits, possessions. What has good energy ROI? What has terrible energy ROI? This framework applies beyond just money. It's a way of living. Day 87. Do the I am exercise 1 more time. 30 days ago, you did 10 statements. Today, can you do 20? Your identity beyond economics should be expanding, deepening, becoming more real than your financial identity. Day 88. Create your 90-day milestone celebration. You're almost done with this intensive integration period. How will you mark it? What will you do to honor the work you've put in? Don't skip this. Transformation deserves celebration. Day 89. Practice the full wealth anchor in response to real volatility. If there's market movement, use it. If not, create a simulation. Imagine your portfolio drops 20%. Run through the full protocol. Reality check, breathing, perspective, action from calm. You're stress testing your capacity. Day 90 integration day. Review everything. Your sufficiency threshold is clear. Your systems are automated. Your nervous system is regulated. Your identity is decoupled from your finances. Your practices are established. You are not the same person you were 90 days ago. You've built the foundation of peaceful wealth. Now you maintain it, deepen it, live it. The work doesn't end, but it becomes lighter. The practices don't stop, but they become second nature. The peace isn't permanent, but it becomes your baseline. You return to it faster when you drift. You recognize when you're off center. You have the tools to come back. Let me tell you about Elena, who did exactly this 90-day process. She started as a successful attorney drowning in financial anxiety, despite making $400,000 a year. She couldn't sleep. She fought with her partner about money constantly. She felt like she was always one mistake away from ruin, even though she had massive savings. Her nervous system was completely dysregulated around wealth. She did every single micro-challenge. Some days she did them grudgingly. Some days she forgot and had to double up the next day. But she stayed with it. By day 30, she was sleeping better. By day 60, she'd automated everything and cut her financial management time from 20 hours a week to 2. By day 90, she told me she felt like she'd been released from prison. The money was the same. The amount of money was almost identical. But her relationship to it had transformed completely. 2 years later, she's maintained everything she built. She's had market crashes, unexpected expenses, professional setbacks, all of it. But none of it destroyed her peace the way it would have before. She has the capacity now to stay regulated through financial turbulence. She's not perfect. She still has moments of old anxiety, but they pass quickly because she has the practices and the systems. The infrastructure holds her. This is what I want for you. Not perfection. Capacity, not elimination of all financial stress. The ability to move through it without being destroyed by it. Not some fantasy state where you never think about money. A realistic state where money thoughts don't dominate your consciousness and hijack your nervous system. You're going to have hard days ahead. Days when the practices feel like too much effort. Days when you want to go back to compulsive checking and anxious monitoring because at least that feels like control. Days when you question whether peaceful wealth is even possible or if you're just fooling yourself. Let me tell you right now, those days are coming. They're normal. They're part of the process. They don't mean you're failing. They mean you're human. On those days, come back to the simplest practice. One breath before one financial action. That's it. You don't have to do everything perfectly. You just have to do one thing consciously. One breath, one moment of presence, one pause between stimulus and reaction. That pause is where all transformation lives. In that pause, you have choice. Anxiety or anchor, reaction or response, hijack or regulation. The more you choose anchor, response, and regulation, the stronger those pathways become. Eventually, they become your default. Not overnight, not even in 90 days completely, but gradually, consistently, measurably. You are literally rewiring your nervous system's relationship to wealth. You are changing decades of conditioning. This takes time. This takes patience. This takes self-compassion. And this is absolutely possible. I want to give you one more practice for maintaining all of this long-term. Once a year, on the same date every year, you do a full peaceful wealth review. It takes about 2 hours. You revisit your sufficiency threshold and adjust it if your life circumstances have changed. You review your 6 stress trigger ratings and see where you've improved and where you need more attention. You read your legacy letter and update it with new wisdom. You look at your automated systems and optimize anything that's gotten clunky. You review your time spent on financial tasks and make sure it hasn't crept back up. You reconnect with your why, your vision of peaceful wealth, your commitment to this way of being. This annual review keeps you from drifting back into old patterns. It's like an annual physical for your money nervous system. You're checking in, assessing, course-correcting. It ensures that the peace you've built doesn't erode from inattention. Because here's the truth, your old patterns want to come back. The culture around you is still screaming that more is better, that anxiety is the price of success, that wealthy people are supposed to stress about wealth. You're swimming against that current. The annual review is how you stay oriented upstream. Now, what about the people in your life who don't understand this? Your family who thinks you're being lazy if you're not constantly hustling. Your friends who flex their purchases and compare net worths. Your colleagues who brag about working 80-hour weeks. The culture that tells you peaceful wealth is an oxymoron. How do you maintain your practice when everyone around you is operating from the cortisol economy? First, you find your people. Even one person who gets this makes a massive difference. A partner, a friend, a therapist, a coach, an online community. Someone you can talk to who understands that you're not opting out of success. You're redefining it. Someone who won't judge you for choosing peace over profit sometimes. Someone who celebrates your boundaries instead of questioning them. Find those people. They're your lifeline when everyone else thinks you're crazy. Second, you practice quiet confidence. You don't need to convince everyone. You don't need to defend your choices. You live your way, they live theirs. When someone questions why you're not chasing the next big opportunity, you can simply say it doesn't fit your life right now. You don't owe anyone an explanation of your energy ROI framework. When someone brags about their wealth or their hustle, you can genuinely be happy for them without making it mean something about you. Their path is theirs. Your sufficiency is yours. Third, you become a model without being preachy. People notice when you're sleeping well, when you're present in conversations, when you're not constantly stressed. They notice when you turn down opportunities without agonizing. They notice when you're generous without resentment. They notice when market crashes don't send you into tailspins. You don't have to explain peaceful wealth. You embody it. And some people will get curious. They'll ask how you stay so calm. That's when you share, if you want to. But you lead with presence, not persuasion. I'm going to be straight with you about one more thing. Peaceful wealth doesn't mean you'll never want more money. It doesn't mean ambition disappears. It doesn't mean you stop growing your income or building your net worth. What it means is the wanting comes from a different place. It comes from overflow and creativity instead of lack and fear. It comes from what you want to build or create or contribute, not from what you need to prove or protect or escape. You might still want to double your income. Great. Do it from sufficiency, not from scarcity. You might still want to build a 7-figure net worth. Excellent. Do it with systems that don't require constant surveillance. You might still want to achieve impressive things. Perfect. Do it while maintaining your nervous system regulation. The goals don't have to change. The energy behind the goals changes everything. When you build wealth from peaceful ambition instead of anxious striving, the journey is different. You make better decisions because fear isn't driving you. You take smarter risks because you're not desperate. You sustain effort longer because you're not burning out. You actually enjoy the success when it comes because you haven't sacrificed your capacity for joy in the pursuit. This isn't slower growth. Often it's faster, more sustainable growth. But even if it were slower, would you rather arrive 5 years later with your peace intact or 5 years earlier, having destroyed yourself in the process? This is the final question I want to leave you with. What does success actually mean to you? Not what your parents wanted, not what society values, not what your peers are chasing. What do you actually want your life to feel like? And here's the follow-up question. Are your current financial choices moving you toward that feeling or away from it? For most people, when they get honest, the feeling they want is some version of peace, freedom, security, and the ability to contribute meaningfully. The irony is they're sacrificing all of that in pursuit of the money they think will deliver it. They're destroying the destination while racing toward it. They're burning down the house they're trying to build. You now have another way. You have the concepts, the practices, the systems, the micro-challenges. You have the 90-day integration path and the annual review structure. You have the relapse-proofing plan and the recovery rituals. You have examples of people who've done this successfully. You have everything you need except one thing, and that's the decision to actually do it. To commit to this path, even when it feels countercultural. To choose peace even when everyone around you is choosing pressure. To build wealth that serves your life instead of consuming it. That relationship starts now. That peace is available now. That serenity of success isn't a destination you reach after decades of grinding. It's a way of being you can access in this very moment. Take the breath. Feel the ground. Know you're enough. Build from there. Everything else will follow. Your bank account might keep growing, but your anxiety doesn't have to grow with it. You can have both the money and the peace. You just have to build them together, intentionally, with wisdom and patience and self-compassion. This is possible. This is practical. This is what peaceful wealth actually looks like. It starts with one breath, one micro-challenge, one moment of choosing differently, and it builds from there into a life where success feels like solid ground instead of quicksand, where wealth serves you instead of hijacking you, where you reach the end of your days measuring your life by the quality of your peace, not the quantity of your possessions. That's the serenity of success. That's what we've built together. Now go live it.